Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse podcast here, bringing you a special edition episode and webinar for your enjoyment. And today we're going to be diving into something that is, I would say, sometimes is a necessary evil in the warehouse, I'll say, and something that I've lived through a couple times. My career has been very focused in the warehouse on inventory management and inventory control. And we're going to talk a little bit about that inventory management, specifically from accounting perspective, not only from an ongoing cycle counting perspective, but also from those pesky year-end physical full inventories as well. So we're going to be diving into this topic today with both GEODIS and Gather AI. And GEODIS has brought on Gather AI to help them navigate some of these pain points, which we'll talk a little bit about. And representing GEODIS today, we're going to have Trent McDermott, who is an industrial engineer over there that has worked on this project. And from Gather AI, we'll have Sean Mitchell, who is VP of Customer Success for them. So we all know that inventory counting is necessary to be able to get that accuracy underway. And, as I mentioned myself, I've spent a couple overnights in a warehouse, not necessarily by choice, but by necessity, to have to do some of these physical counts and get them counted off hours in between, movement of material and things like that. So we're going to dive into that. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll be able to help you walk away with kind of an understanding of where these automated inventory management solutions can help you out and help you reduce some of this manual work and overall increase inventory accuracy. And I think, as we'll hear from GEODIS here too, as well as probably increase that customer satisfaction as well. So Sean and Trent, welcome in. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get a little bit of an intro from you guys. Trent representing GEODIS, a major 3PL in the industry. But tell us a little bit about kind of what you do for GEODIS and all about GEODIS as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So my name is Trent McDermott, and like Kevin said, I'm an industrial engineer at GEODIS at one of our warehouses in the greater Nashville area. GEODIS as a whole, we span across 170 different countries. We are a global company specializing in third-party logistics, but our global headquarters is located in France. Our America's headquarters, which I support, is located in Brentwood, Tennessee, just south of Nashville. And in the Americas, we specialize in contract logistics, transportation services, and freight forwarding.
All right, great. And definitely a huge footprint and a company that is, I would say, at the forefront of embracing a lot of the innovations and technologies out there in the warehouse space too, as well as we'll kind of learn about here today as they've brought in Gather AI to help them with this inventory management. And Gather AI is doing that through the use of drones within facilities. So Sean is their VP of Customer Success. So Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about Gather AI? Brief overview for people that aren't familiar.
Absolutely. And Kevin, thanks again for having us on the podcast. And Trent, it's always great to talk to you again. Gather AI is the world leader in AI-enabled inventory insights collected by a fleet of autonomous drones. And effectively what this means is that our systems fly through our customers' warehousing, imaging each inventory location. As they do, they read barcodes, they read text, they count cases, they identify empty and populated locations, and then they do a direct comparison to the warehouse management system. The beauty of our system is it allows anyone to go through and quickly create a fully traceable digital map of their entire facility, and then allow them to understand what's misplaced and where everything is in a fraction of the time it takes for traditional cycle counting methods.
All right, great. And I love that. And I've seen it firsthand myself, and I definitely love what it's doing and how it takes away some of that manual aspect as well in the counting and frees up some of the resources, which we'll talk a little bit about. And we'll get a demo from Sean a little later here too to see how it actually works. But we wanted to have this conversation because I think this time of year, it's the end of the year, right? That we're putting this together and releasing this, and a lot of people are having to do those end of year counts, trying to make sure that they're good before they close the books for the year, and that their inventory is accounted for, or their client's inventory is accounted for. So very timely in that sense, and as I mentioned, can be a very painstaking process in some aspects, sometimes all hands on deck situation as well. So, I really wanted to talk about this and dive into this topic because I think it is something that's really important. And I'm happy that we're able to get both sides here from GEODIS's perspective as an end user, and then also from Gather AI's perspective as the solution provider, too, because I think it's great to bring those two together and hear how this project kind of went about. So I think we're going to kick it off here with Trent kind of walking us through, the pain points that they were experiencing in one of their facilities, one of their clients around inventory management. So Trent, tell us a little bit about kind of what the pain points were there, because you guys, you have many different facilities, right? Many different product types, different SKU variations, multiple clients for sure. But I mean, tell us a little bit about kind of how you were approaching inventory counting and this inventory management and some of the pain points that were associated with that.
Yeah, certainly. So, a customer that we turn to Gather AI's solution for is a pioneer in the specialty coffee industry.
Okay.
And that particular customer required quarterly wall to wall cycle counts. And that is a very manual intensive process in the previous state before bringing on Gather AI's solution. One of the main pain points that we experienced completing those quarterly cycle counts for that customer was just the manual nature of the process, requiring an operator to use an RF handheld device and
Mm.
at the same time operate a order picker or cherry picker to go to various different levels of the racking within the facility. And inside our WMS, each location is required to be counted once per quarter. So this was very time consuming and placed a major burden on the operations team due to the workload of the cycle counting for the quarter and just general day-to-day business as usual inventory control task. The team was often needing to work overtime hours to meet this customer's requirement of counting every location inside the facility, which obviously comes with increased labor spend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're describing there is certainly probably relatable to a lot of people that are listening and have warehouses. You have people going out and doing these counts, utilizing in your case, as you mentioned, these handheld RF devices, and doing counts on there, and scanning the product, and in some cases too, people maybe counting on paper, which becomes even more troubling in a sense as well. So tell us a little bit, Trent. I mean, at what point did you recognize or say like, hey, we need to make a change here. We need to look for a solution to be able to whether it's free up labor, increase inventory accuracy, or just a better overall process around this counting.
Yeah, we recognized that there was an opportunity to kind of shift away from the traditional process because it was not as efficient or cost effective as it needed to be. So our reliance on manual inventory counting was consuming a lot of valuable time and resources from the operations and also diverting us from other operational critical tasks. So we are a company that leverages technology to optimize key aspects of logistics, such as planning and packaging. And we decided to take a different approach with this technology, exploring something to improve our inventory counting process and helping our team manage their workflow from an inventory standpoint better. So that with this decision to bring on Gather AI's technology, we aim to reduce the burden on our teammates and ultimately provide more efficient and reliable service to our customers.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's a great thing there. And I think the last point too, you said like relieving the burden on the teammates, I think is an important thing too, because oftentimes especially as you go through higher peak seasons or spikes in volume and things of that nature, it can be difficult to allocate the resources to also then worry about the counting and then inventory management sometimes too as well. So now, Sean, tell us a little bit about from your perspective, because Gather AI is certainly addressing a lot of these pain points and challenges and giving a new way to look at inventory counting, I'll say. So tell us, what do you say to someone like Trent, who has some of these pain points and is doing inventory counting in the way that they were previously?
For us, GEODIS has been an excellent partner, an incredibly technology forward, and with a real focus in how do they leverage new systems and capabilities to increase the pace of business, hit the requirements of their end customer, but also do things in a far more productive way. And so before we get started with any customer, what we really want to do is understand those key pain points. And here it was clear that there was a requirement to increase the throughput while also dramatically changing how the traceability was working. Previous to using us, GEODIS was able to scan 800 locations per day, utilizing 4 people full-time. Now, with the drone-based system, using 1 person part-time, they're actually able to scan over 1,200 locations. So freeing up a dramatic amount of labor,
Wow.
but increasing the throughput and also having this new level of traceability. And when I speak traceability, what I'm talking about is having a location and time-stamped image of every pallet, and then utilizing AI to actually go through and have an overlay where you can count those cases. You can detect if a location is populated or empty, and you can not only scan the barcode, but also read any text or lot code information and cross-reference all of that. And so the beauty is, beyond just being lines on a spreadsheet, now there's a web dashboard that allows you to dynamically look through your inventory. You can virtually walk through the aisles and really get a better sense of what you're doing. And all of this can be done with one drone at 5x the speed of a standard human doing cycle counting, and one person can even operate 3, so bring you up to 15x the speed. So the beauty here is you're going faster, but you're also leveraging AI and machine learning to actually identify all of the information in every pallet location.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. And obviously, a major increase in throughput there. Like you mentioned, going from 4 people at 800 counts a day, which is essentially 200 per person, right, to 1,200 a day with half part-time a person, right, and essentially, and I mean, obviously a huge gain there. So we want to see, what this looks like here a little bit, Sean, and I think it's pretty obvious that you guys utilize drones to do this, right, and obviously that's the big visual catch up first at first, right, but you also mentioned in there you guys are leveraging computer vision and this AI versus having a typical spreadsheet of tracking this type of stuff and a visual reference too of the location. So why don't you kind of walk us through here a little bit and show us what that looks like, and maybe describe to us a little bit, and for people that are not maybe familiar with what computer vision totally is, maybe describe what that is a little bit, as well as we're all still trying to keep up and catch up with AI lingo and things of that nature.
Absolutely. No, let me go through and I'll share my screen. I can kind of walk through dashboard our product, and it's interesting. We talk about the drones and how the information is captured. But really that's kind of the tip of the iceberg, or we look at as sort of the magic flying camera that captures the information. Everything that happens after that image capture is where we actually derive value. Effectively, how it works is an operator goes to the aisle face that they'd like to scan, drops a drone there, and selects either the entire aisle face, or they go through and they select individual locations. Or they select, I'd like to see all of your A runners, B runners, or C runners for a standard cycle counting procedure. Or you may just select, I just want to see everything that's been put away in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. And it'll create a custom mission from there. The drone then takes off, flies fully autonomously, images each location. And as it's doing so, then it's actually conducting all of the AI overlay. Once that information is captured, then it comes over to the web dashboard. This is where all of our customers now operate from a cycle counting perspective. And what you'll see here is each individual mission, each time the drone takes off and is capturing information. And then on the right-hand side, which I'll actually look through, this is the pictorial reference. This is where you can actually virtually walk through each aisle. You can see each mission and every single inventory location that was scanned by the drone each time it takes off. And what we've done is we've encoded the exception status in the lower left corner of each location. So you'll see right here this black flag. What that means is there's no exception found. Everything matches up. Okay. A red flag, this is an exception. This means something does not match what the WMS expects. And then a yellow flag would be an empty location. And everything is laid out exactly as it would be in the aisle itself. And actually it has all of our customer location names in that same order. If you click on a location, what it does, it pulls up that location, says it matched. Here's a location name. You have the date and time that this location was scanned. And then you have the match characteristic, as well as you have the LPN that it was matched to. And from here, you can actually open this up and you can look at any specific attribute about this. And this is all pulled from the customer WMS as a secondary verification towards what this product is. You're able to zoom in, zoom out. You can look at the image and confirm you have the correct product here. And then you can move to the next location. But what this does is really gives you a far more detailed picture of exactly what's going on, rather than just having a line in a spreadsheet that says someone scanned this at this date and this time.
It's very, very detailed and comprehensive to be able to see kind of what actually happened at that point in capturing that location, which can be super useful.
Absolutely. And then what you can do is you can actually stitch together the most recent image of every inventory location in the entire warehouse. And now you really have that virtual means in which you can walk through and truly see every location. And here you can click on an exception, click on one of these red flags here. And what this does is it goes through and it says, hey, look, the WMS has said this location is supposed to be empty. However, what you can see right here is there is something physically here. And our system is actually capable of going through and using the AI actually determine what does an empty location look like versus what does a location look like that has a stray object. And so, for anyone who's doing the directed put away, where the system is saying, hey, you must put the pallet here, this is something where someone had accidentally left some garbage in this location. And it's a really easy thing to go through and identify all these issues and then send somebody out and to actually go through. And from here on the right-hand side, you can select your action. You can say it's something missing from a location. You can send somebody out there physically to visit it physically. You can add it to the WMS. You can remove it from the WMS, or you can identify it as an error, either system or operational. And this creates that workflow that someone can quickly go through, review, and see what's going on. You can then jump right back to the main screen here, and you can look at another exception. You can pull up a different one here. And from here, what you can see is here's a mistake where someone placed the wrong pallet in the wrong location. And the example being that the WMS expected the pallet 62056. However, 3672 was actually found in this location. And so you can go through, you can see what's supposed to be there, you can see what's been found, and from there, you can decide what needs to happen. Does someone need to go investigate? Does someone need to go update the WMS? Or are you able to move forward from here? And so instead of having a very tedious process of reviewing exceptions, now all of this information is at the tip of your fingers. Anyone can make a change, but also all of the inventory history of every location is identified here. So anytime anyone makes a change, anytime anyone reviews anything, all of this is immediately available. And it allows you to see each click and each movement and each transaction within your system now registered to an individual user, but also pictorially supported. And this is really where we get into the computer vision and how you can utilize AI to not only identify things, but also derive more information, whether that is identifying an empty location, counting individual cases, or whether you actually want to just search through your warehouse and see if a specific product type might be there. But this is kind of the quick and dirty of how the system works, kind of stitched together.
Very nice. Yeah. And very comprehensive, as I mentioned before. I think that I'll say the kind of like warehouse clean freak in me loves the fact that it can just identify that there's an empty pallet sitting in a location like high up or wrap or something like that. Because I used to send people out into the warehouse all the time just to like make passes to look for that stuff, which can be a definite impediment and slowdown for that directed put away, as you mentioned there, Sean. But, I think too, seeing those exceptions and that history as well, I mean, allows for such an easier way to kind of pinpoint and lead yourself to those exceptions instead of having to go one person and, count 200 locations a day where, out of those 200 locations, there may only be one or two couple exceptions depending on how your inventory accuracy is. And, did they really need to count all those other locations? I mean, yes, based on, rules and things like that, but, you're really looking for those exceptions to be able to improve overall that accuracy and your process flows. So very cool to see definitely how the technology works and what those drones are seeing there. And also, having that historical reference to of what's been happening. And I think that visual cue as well is something that, with a traditional counting sense, you don't necessarily get that visual cue. And I'm sure if you ask somebody out of 200 locations that they counted in a day, oh, do you remember what you saw at this location? They would probably say no. I mean, yes, there are some definitely like inventory counting savants out there. I'll say that I've experienced that. Yes, they have that visual memory, but not everybody can do that and recall and be reliable on that in a sense. So it gives you another level of information. I think that's super valuable and super important as well. So we saw kind of here what the solution looks like and what that drone is really interpreting, and that magical camera, as you said there, Sean, flying around and capturing all this information. So I'm curious, Trent, let's go back to you here now. And on the GEODIS side, I mean, as you guys started to look for solutions and you started to gather information, no pun intended there with gather, but tried to get that together and understand what could we do to improve this process and make it better. How did you ultimately end up landing on the gather AI solution?
Yeah, we landed on Gather AI solution after a very careful evaluation, not only of the innovation itself, but the company's alignment with GEODIS's values and culture. So we took into consideration challenges that we were facing. Gather AI had a very innovative approach using an autonomous drone, which stood out to us. And not only that, Sean touched on it in the demo, but the drone has software that enables it to fly autonomously without any GPS, Wi-Fi, or any racking or IT infrastructure changes, and it can scan 15 times faster than the traditional method of using an RF device and an order picker piece of equipment to count your locations. So the machine learning algorithm analyzes inventory and pictures of our barcodes on our pallets that we put on our pallets when we receive that inventory into the facility. But not only is it validating that barcode, there's other metrics that you saw in the demo, like expiration dates. You could put, serial numbers or various lock codes and text on the pallet as well, barcoded, and the Gather AI drone is able to detect those barcodes with optical character recognition, and you can view that in the dashboard. We also wanted to form a relationship with Gather, being the company that we selected, and we saw a cultural fit in Gather, and Gather AI understood our business, our challenges, and the day-to-day, especially the day-to-day challenges that our teammates experience. They were on site from the beginning of the implementation, training our teammates, getting them comfortable with using the new technology. They spent about an hour, 2 hours hands-on flying the drone, sitting down in the conference room or looking on the floor at the laptop, going through what the dashboard's showing, what all it means, basically taking them screen by screen in more details of the demo that Sean just provided to us. And, it it was getting them to understand that the technology would make their jobs easier. And this is a pretty advanced technology, but the Gather AI user interface allows our teammates to see inventory variances intuitively, and they picked up on it really quickly. You know, they showed us that they understood what we needed, and we were looking for a solution that could be up and running quickly. And Gather AI's implementation process was very efficient, flexible, and non-disruptive for the operation team, especially during peak hours.
All right, awesome, and that's great to hear too. And I think it's great to hear that it was non-invasive to the operation, because I think that's one thing too that I would think that, oh well, I've never flown anything in my warehouse before, right? Typically you haven't. So this could be like something new, and maybe some challenges there to navigate that airspace, or figure out how to coexist with the employees. But I guess, Sean, tell us a little bit about what goes into making that implementation process easy and non-invasive there, as Trent mentioned.
Absolutely. So I think for us, first and foremost, we're here to partner with our customers, right? And the important thing is we don't want to impact the operations anyway. Effectively, what we're doing is we're creating a full digital map of the warehouse. So we're measuring all of the racking, we're creating an XYZ for every single inventory location, and then we're placing up navigational markers throughout the racking so that as the drone flies through, just like street signs, it sees one of these markers and it knows exactly where it is within a half centimeter of accuracy. What we do is we have a team of between 3 to 5 individuals coming out, going through and actually measuring the racking, and then placing those markers. And then once that's done, calibrating the system and training the team. One of the most important things that we do is something called shadow training. And Trent alluded to this, where our team sits alongside the inventory control team. And as they're operating the drones and the dashboard, they will go through and conduct their typical daily counts. And we're just there like training wheels. We sit down, work with them, and make sure that they know exactly what they need to do to go through it and now utilize this new AI-based technology to enhance their job. We also go through and make sure that everybody feels comfortable with any of the service and support functionality. We do utilize off-the-shelf drones. And for us, we are a software company who happens to use drones to capture the information, which is a little bit of a differentiator for us. It means we're highly flexible, but it also means we're far more reliable. And again, if there's any issue whatsoever, our customers give us a call, we'll walk through a quick troubleshooting steps, and then we'll just mail them a brand new drone. Like I said, the drones to us are really a consumable. They're not important. They're really just the means to capturing that information and to making sure that everything is on time every time. And so that helps for all of our customers to make sure that they're not concerned about maintaining another piece of hardware. They're not worried about having to train on a new piece of MHE or something of that nature. They call us and we provide entire support. Because at the end of the day, the product really is the dashboard and the software, and the drones are just there to support that.
All right, interesting, and I think that's really important too, to understand there, because you mentioned there, like, the drone is just off the shelf, and it's really the technology behind it, and that software and computer vision, and the platform that we saw here, that really adds the value, which I think is a great point that you make there. Is because of that, well, from the hardware perspective, there really isn't much challenge in getting you another one, or having any complications, because this is like a proven drone overall that you can take off the shelf and utilize in multiple different scenarios. You guys just happen to use it for inventory counting, right? In that sense. So, I think that's great to know there as well. So now, Sean, I'm curious too. I mean, for like a successful implementation, or like, I guess, a successful fit of a customer, I mean, what is the ideal kind of setup, operation, product that you're looking there to have that success with?
Absolutely. So right off the bat, I think we're looking for customers who have an interest in improving their inventory accuracy. And when I say that, it could be at the pace at which they're improving, or it could be that they're looking for that next level of traceability. Typically, what we're finding is that it's not necessarily the size of the warehouse that matters, but the pace at which you're planning to count. We have customers who have between 500 and 2,000 pallets. We have other customers that have over 150,000 pallets in their racked positions. And it really comes down to what is the problem the team is looking to solve. For some of them, they're in the air cargo space or in the manufacturing space where they're clearing that entire warehouse every single day, and they're going through and moving product in and out. Others are going through and they're prepping for a peak season. And we're there to make sure that, one, they have all of the right inventory so that there's no issues with their end customer when they're trying to transact and ship the needed products. Or we're there to help reconcile after the crazy peak period. Others are there so that we can support the manufacturing line. But as far as the needs go, today we're here to support anyone who has a rack-based inventory system. We do support multi-deep, so we can do kind of double deeps or something of that nature. But again, someone who is looking at increasing that inventory accuracy and has at least aisles wider than 5 foot 4 inches wide. We do also support customers today in freezers now. So we do both an ambient refrigeration and a freezer space. And the importance there is because they are environments in which a lot of human operators don't want to spend time. And so if you can speed up that process by 15x, that's a fraction of the time you have to spend in colder environments, but still getting the same level of traceability and speed.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and I think that it's so important to be able to understand that, and being able to have that ability, like you mentioned there, just in the last part about the freezers, which humans don't typically want to work in below zero temperatures. I don't know many people that would or or like doing that. So like taking that human element into consideration, and how do you put them in a better environment maybe in some cases, or just have them focusing on more like high value activities, or activities that really move the needle more in a sense, I think is important too. So that's a great announcement. I saw that recently from you guys as well. So I'm curious, Trent, on your side, from the human element perspective, right? Sean had mentioned in there that you guys were utilizing 4 people a day, doing 800 counts approximately every day, 200 a piece, and then it's cut down to 1/2 a day, basically, for somebody to do 1,200 counts, more counts than you were doing before. So how did you guys kind of readjust those workers that were doing that previously, and how did that kind of free up resources for you to maybe do something differently with them?
So it allowed us to adjust significantly. These teammates that are doing the cycle counts also have other value add tasks that are critical as well to the operation to run. So now, right, we can have those teammates focus on critical value adding tasks while we are also staying ahead, spending less time doing the cycle counts, because we are able to count 5 times the amount of locations with the cycle counting drone. But not only that, we are making the job easier on the teammates because they're no longer having to drive a piece of equipment, and there's a safety aspect of that too, right? One less piece of equipment in the aisles, the teammate doesn't have to worry about dropping cases from an elevated level of racking. So there's a safety benefit from there as well. So the drone itself, right? The teammate is still closing off the aisle, has to stay with the drone, has to monitor the drone while it's flying its mission, but they are actively looking at the results in the dashboard, and they are troubleshooting actions to give to their peers to go adjust inventory if needed and make inventory corrections if needed.
Yeah, I think that's great, and allowing them to focus specifically on just the problems essentially, right? And not necessarily say wasting time, but not necessarily spending so much time just counting locations that are correct, right? When they could be spending time fixing where there's actual issues that are going to cause you, pain points down the road, right? And I think that makes a lot of sense to be able to count many more locations, and get through those to get to those issues quicker in a sense, right? And then be able to address them and correct those as soon as possible, faster than you would in the normal process that we would see most of the time. So I think that's really interesting to hear, and I'm curious too, Trent, from like the human element, what was the the reaction to the police when they first saw these like drones flying around in the operation? A little different, I'm sure, than what they were used to.
Yeah, different at first, for sure. But the teammates really grasped the concept of using a drone to perform the cycle counts very quickly. They saw that it would make their jobs easier. Like I said, they wouldn't have to operate a piece of equipment. They can now push a cart around with the drone, take it to the aisle that they need to fly, and complete their cycle counting task, and then review the exceptions on a dashboard straight from their laptop. And it also gives them, the ease of being able to find misplaced pallets more quickly than we were before by searching the pallet LPN on the Gather AI dashboard and finding that archived location of where the pallet had been scanned last. So, the teammates really brought on the concept quickly. The customer is also very happy with the drone solution. We're counting more locations and ensuring that the inventory is as accurate as possible. So as a result, we're providing a better service for our customer.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's fantastic, and it's great to hear too that the teammates enjoyed that, and I'm sure some of them were probably happy to not be on the cherry pickers as much, right? The order selectors up there and in the air as well, counting those things, and probably having to tilt their head a little bit to verify and make sure everything was there, and do those types of things, and have that tool to be able to help them. So I guess tell us a little bit too. Now we've talked about kind of what the challenges were that you were facing, some of the pain points there, how you brought Gather AI in to help and address these. And we touched a little bit there on some of the numbers, but tell us some of the other kind of results that you guys have seen at GEODIS as a result of bringing the Gather AI solution into the operation.
Yeah, so we started with the Gather AI solution back in March, and just after 2 weeks of implementation, 40% of the locations in the entire warehouse were completed just 2 weeks into the quarter, which is astronomically faster than what we had done previously doing the manual process. So since our implementation in March, we are now live at 2 other sites, so 3 sites in total at GEODIS using the Gather AI cycle counting drone. So the results have been great. The teammates love the new technology. It makes their day-to-day easier, and it allows them to focus on higher prioritizing value-adding tasks for the operation. So it's also a proactive solution that allows us to catch potential delays in shipping. Sean touched on the capabilities of auditing put away. It's catching those errors before an outbound operator can discover those errors or potentially pass along those defects later on in the process. So it is a proactive approach to prevent future delays inside the 4 walls.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and it's great to hear those results, and also that you've been able to embrace it so much to expand it into 2 other facilities additionally. And I think saying that you're 2 weeks into the quarter, 40% of locations are counted already. I mean, if somebody's listening now in December, maybe and they haven't done any counting yet for the quarter, maybe there's still some hope if they bring in Gather AI to be able to accomplish that by the end of the year, right? It sounds like maybe it might be a little close still, but I think maybe there's some potential there to speed that up. So very interesting there. And I'm curious too, I mean, are there any additional benefits that you've seen from the Gather AI solution that maybe you weren't quite expecting, or benefits like that you weren't necessarily going after with the implementation, but have been kind of come along with it?
Yeah, I think the main benefit, one, it aligns with GEODIS's culture and values to explore innovative solutions. It's new technology to our teammates, and it makes their jobs a lot easier. So it is increasing that employee morale. We are more able to cross-train because using the technology, believe it or not, can be actually easier to train the teammate on than sometimes the RF handheld and the operating of driving the equipment itself. So the big thing for us is it's making our teammates happier. It's making their jobs easier day to day, and it's allowing us to be flexible with our resources to focus on other tasks inside the four walls. So that's it's been a big win for us.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great, and that's a great point too on the training aspect there of reduced time and having to worry about training somebody up on some MHE potentially, or even just the understanding of like the counting of the product, right? Because that's not always the easiest thing to do. I mean, it sounds, if you haven't done inventory counting, like, oh, what could be hard? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But when you see the way some of these pallets are arranged or stacked or things like that, it can take a little time to understand like what the actual counts are and how to go about counting those different layers and the configuration. So I think that's a great point too there on the training savings as well. So very interesting to hear from you, Trent, here on the GEODIS side as well, and how you guys have gone about bringing the solution in and embraced it, in just a short time period. It sounds like expanding to other locations as well, and how it's benefited your employees on a daily basis. Additionally, so now, Sean, you mentioned in there that you guys recently had this announcement about now you're able to go into freezers, refrigerated spaces too, without any complications, which I think is a huge win for those employees in the fridge or in the freezer. But does Gather AI have any other kind of new offerings coming up, or what can we expect kind of for the future of Gather AI here?
Absolutely, and I think we're so excited to have customers and really people like GEODIS that believe in us and allow us to try new things and to continue to innovate. And I would say 2025 is going to be really exciting for Gather AI as we continue to improve on the drone-based solution, but you'll see kind of a growth in new capabilities beyond just drones. And really, we're looking at solutions that are more ubiquitous, but would allow for the same level of traceability and fidelity that we've always been providing for our customers. And that's sort of the exciting piece that we have beyond now supporting our customers beyond refrigeration and into the freezers.
All right, awesome, and that's great, and we'll definitely be excited and looking forward to seeing what other type of evolutions come for the Gather AI solution. So thank you both for joining me today. Now, Sean, if people want to learn more about Gather AI and specifically the Gather AI and GEODIS partnership itself, what's the best way to read more into that, and what's the best way to get in touch so maybe they can quickly finish up those counts before the end of the year here?
Of course, yeah, and there's always still time, and we're very quick in implementing. But our website is www.gather.ai. And from there, you'll have access to all the videos, all the case studies. You can see other recordings of Trent and his team talking about the system and all of that. But you can also reach out at sales@gather.ai if you've got any specific questions. And we'd love to hear from anybody.
All right, awesome. And we'll definitely get all that information up there as well so people can easily access. And Trent, what about GEODIS? If people want to learn more about GEODIS, maybe they're looking for a 3PL partner that has very high inventory accuracy. What's the best way to get in touch with GEODIS?
Yeah, absolutely. You can learn more and read more about GEODIS at geodis.com.
All right, great. And I want to thank you both for joining me here today. And thank you to those who tuned in as well. Hopefully, you learned a better solution for doing your inventory management and counting. And you've also learned how to leverage drones and computer vision within a warehouse operation to improve your overall inventory accuracy as well as process flow. And this is your reminder, too, to look at those inventory counts and see how you can make them better to prevent some of that pain of those manual counts at the end of the year or those full physical inventories, and try to get away from those. So thank you once again, Sean and Trent, for joining me today for this discussion.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate being on your show.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, the New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesaresexy.com and get your own.